today I'm going to be getting into something I've been looking forward to doing for a while and just haven't found the time to do it. And that is my first set of drums that I got when I was 5 years old. We're going to clean them up. I can't even tell you how long it's been since they've been played. I'll show you the process and some of the products I'm using to clean these and get them back together, and then we'll put them through their paces. That's what we're going to get into today, so grab yourself an adult beverage or a cup of coffee or whatever and sit back and let's check this stuff out. Okay, so let's just break down real quick what this kit actually is. And it's, it's one of those things, for all of us. Somehow when I was a kid and I got these drums, even when they didn't matter that much to me, I knew that I wanted to hang on to my first set of drums, I knew it would have sentimental value. And now we're going to find out what the actual, real world value of these drums are. What I can tell you, I'm no Rogers expert. I've got this kit, and then I have a mid-60s Cleveland era jazz kit that's amazing. Maybe I'll do another video with that one at some point. But these, from best I can tell, are kind of a transition era, because they look like the Fullerton shells, and I'll throw a shot looking down. You guys can try to count these plies with me because I can't get an accurate understanding of what I'm looking at. And when I research online to see what it is, it kind of varies a bit. You can see some 5-ply shells, 6 plies, whatever that is. But I'm going to give you a look at a cross section around that scarf joint for the reinforcement ring. And drop some comments in there if you got an idea of what it is we're looking at, okay? So yeah, just real quick, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was my 5th birthday, and my dad took me to the music shop to pick out a set of drums. And I remember all the drums in the shop were Rogers, and it was all script badge stuff, and they were green sparkle, red sparkle, blue sparkle, and I didn't dig the sparkle, right? So I picked out these solid black, which are like the R380, and so it's got this bigger memory-like hardware, but it's the Fullerton shell, so it's not the XP8 or, so there's got to be some transition era when there were some leftover shells they were stamping a different way. I'm guessing that's what I'm looking at, but like I say, if you know for sure, throw that down in the comments and let's keep going, okay? As far as cleaning up, what I've done is initially I'm going to take just a paper towel, damp paper towel, wipe down the dirt and stuff that's just been sitting on the drums, dry that off, and then I'm using via ChatGPT, which is one of my favorite things, an amazing tool in this new era that we're getting into. But anyway, it said plastics, which is automotive for cleaning headlamps. And I can tell you, you'll see in the video, the results are fantastic and minimal effort. So you could really, if you've got plastic wraps on your drums of a certain style, this is the shit, okay? There was a little bit of separation on the 12 and 13 of the wrap. And again, ChatGPT told me to use 3M multi-surface contact adhesive, max strength, and that also worked well. I took just a really quick shot with it. I could do all of this in greater detail if I had more time, but this will give you a good idea of what is possible with these products. And also, we're going to play these drums and put them through their paces at the end. So right now, I'm basically going to jump to cleaning the drums up. Okay, now everything's cleaned up. Now I'm going to throw heads on here. And what I want to do for my own curiosity is I'm going to set the 13, 16, and the bass drum up first. And I'm going to start with a clear ambassador on the bottom and coat it on the top. I want to hear that first, but in my imagination of remembering these drums, I want to throw some clear ambassadors all the way around and kind of detune them and see what we get with that. But I'm going to start with kind of a straight ahead 13, 16, 22 ambassador coated. Same thing on the bass drum, coated ambassador, and I'll do an ebony head on the bass drum front side. And yeah, just a couple other quick notes. I had to grab some hardware. I had lost the legs for the bass drum, so I had to pay. Man, I paid way more money than I thought it was worth. But we'll see what that is. To get some new bass drum legs, I had to get a new hoop because the hoop from the front side of the drum was missing, which gives you an idea of like when I was playing this drum last. I mean, no front head, so I got claws, a hoop that matches. So we're going to put these things together, and we'll get them under the mics and start checking them out. And maybe what you've been hearing is these drums. Who knows? I don't know yet, right? Okay, see you there. Another quick note about my history with these drums, okay? I got these drums when I was 5 years old. I remember getting them home. My dad let me hang around the studio all the time. That's part of my story, and I'm so grateful and fortunate to have grown up the way I did. You know, a kid getting to go to work with his dad and hang out in the studio around other musicians and just crawl around, and I was treated like a little adult by everybody. It was really kind of a magical thing. I grew up in Easley, South Carolina. My dad's studio was in Greenville, and yeah, just really fortunate. I'll make another video sometime where I'll really give you guys my history for those that are interested, okay? But these drums, I started recording for my dad from the time I was 11 years old. But yeah, I spent a lot of time recording with my dad with these drums. And then I saved up and got a Pearl MLX kit when I was 16. And basically that would have been 89. And from that point on, these drums went into storage. And sadly, I didn't take that good a care of them. They were kind of in a non-climate controlled situation. So you'll see again what you saw in the cleanup video, how well they came back around. At least they weren't banged up. They just kind of didn't have the benefit of climate control storage. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm excited to hear what these drums sound like. I'm going to throw some modern things on here. I'm really big on these Pearl R2 Air suspension mounts, transformative for drums. So check that link out there. They're a universal fit, and they work on an L-arm now, which I've switched over to. So whether you play Pearl drums or not, if you use an L-arm, anything from DW to Gibraltar, these fit, and man, they completely transform the resonant, not just how well the drum rings out, but when they get that much vibrational potential, then the whole envelope of how the shell interacts with the heads and sort of the range of frequencies that come out of the drum and sort of the slope of how they open up changes in ways that just are amazing. So you'll be hearing that. So yeah, here we'll time lapse this stuff. I'm going to get the 13, 16, 22 happening, and yeah, see you on the other side of that. So let's get started. I'm going to start with the 12-inch drum, see what we got. All right, so the first thing I'm going to look at is this separation right here, which isn't, if you see in this side shot here, it's not that bad. I mean, you wouldn't even see it if I hadn't taken the mounting hardware off, but what you've got is just a little bit of separation here, which is not, I mean, honestly, considering the age, not that bad. So the drums are kind of nasty around here. I'm going to wipe them down. I'm going to start with just paper towel, dry, and wipe the edges down. And, you know, this is something I didn't appreciate. I mean, the build quality of these drums, you know, I was, like I say, I wanted a lacquer kit. Everything at the time, around 88, was those long lugs that run up and down the drum. And these were just, you know, completely out of fad. But these drums are incredibly, like, they seem to be perfectly in round. Also, you know, mostly the drums were, they didn't travel that much, so they maybe got a nick or two just from being kind of thrown around in storage, kind of getting out of the way. So, but let's see. I don't even know how this is going to respond. So, I'm going to test this 3M stuff because it says it takes about 10 minutes. So, what I'll do is I'll jump into some other things while we let one drum dry down. I'm just going to take a shot and spray it on this. Actually, it said there was a selection for the spray pattern, but I don't see it. Let's just see how it hits the cloth. Okay. Interesting. Try that again. Okay, it's a little more direct. Now let's just get an idea of how tacky that is coming out. So, you know, it says to clean. Boy, that is sticky already on my fingers. I hate that shit. It says to clean the surface the best you can, but, you know, honestly, there's really not a great way for me to get in there. And I don't want to pull things up so much that I have to completely adhere them. So what I'm going to do is just do a quick best effort to get this to seat back down. And then once that's done, my mounting, I'm going to use the Pearl R2 Air, which is a fantastic mounting system. I'm going to use that. It's going to go over this seam anyway, so we'll just get the best result we can and keep moving. Yeah, that stuff is a mess. So let's see what we get here. I'm going to try to lift it. Well, okay. Let's think about this. I want to take a tension rod and just sort of use it to keep it. You see this right here? What I'm doing? I'm just going to take a tension rod and use it to keep the wrap lifted right here. Now, what I'm realizing is that the wrap actually overlaps itself, so it's black plastic trying to stick to black plastic. Okay, so what I've got, you're going to see inside here, I'm going to let that sort of tack up. It says to let it tack up for a little bit, and then I'll try to lay it down on the surface and see if it'll hold. I'm going to go ahead and get the 13 ready for the same, so we can have that stuff drying. A quick wipe down dry stuff. So you can get a look in here. This one's worse where on the lifting. So you know there's a little more area for me to be able to apply the glue on the 13. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's get on that. Seems like this stuff is. Let me get that off my carpet right there. So yeah, there we go. That's going to get that. We'll let that set up for a minute. Then I'm going to try to tack it down, and we'll move on. What I'll do is I'm going to let the 12 and 13 kind of set up, and then we'll do some cosmetic work on the 16 where I got to put some hardware back on the drum, and maybe the hoop looks a little worse. We'll try the SOS pad on that, see what we get. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna set this down. Let's keep moving. Okay, so we had an audio snafu, but now let's see if we can get this to sit tack down like it's, you know, we're gonna hold that down like that. And then I can see, wow, Yeah, that's gonna do it. I don't know how much it's gonna stand up to vibrations after the fact, but I can scrape that residue off, I think, with maybe with a, well, I'm sure I can clean it off with Goo Gone or something like that. But yeah, that definitely laid right back down. So let's see, on the 12. Had a little technical issue with the main audio on the lav mic there, but now we got things corrected. We'll keep moving here. So I'm going to hold this down for maybe a minute here and see if I can help the adhesion. That wants to lift. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to tape that down. Let's see if this gaff will hold it. Nasty stuff. You don't want to get that on your hands, I can tell you. I already didn't want to get it on there, and it's too bad. Okay. I don't know if I got any even there, so. Again, I'm not looking for perfection here. I'm just trying to kind of clean it up a little bit, and we'll let that live under the gaffer's tape for now. And I've got Goo Gone. We'll try that, getting the residue off. So 12 and 13, let's set them aside. Let's look at cleaning up the 16, all right? Yeah, we're gonna do some cleaning and yeah, see what we get here. All right, so we'll have a look at this hoop. It's seen better days with a little bit of surface rust. You kind of get a look around here. Maybe you can get a quick look there. And let's see what my my little automotive trick does for us. I'm gonna wet that just a little bit and then get in here. And this is actually, I enjoy this kind of thing. It's this kind of work is therapeutic. So you do need a little water on these pads to release the cleaning agent. And then we'll see if this was a bad call when we get all the way to the end. Because like I say, I don't think this is not near automotive grade, plating. So the rust, I think, is probably through a bit. But it is, I can already tell it's coming around. Here's kind of a look at some of the worst part of it, and we'll see how we get in a minute here. Oh, wow, okay. I felt that. I think it took some steel off the hoop. Kind of made a needle out of it. It stabbed me. You can see I'm going to need more of these, but this is a start, at least just to get an idea of what's possible. I'm not trying to go perfect here. I just want to see what we might get if we did put a little more effort into it, So, looking good enough for me, because this one had quite a bit of surface rust, and it's getting off there. We'll go around the inside of the hoop a little easier. I got an idea. I'm going to get a towel. All right, back with a towel. Maybe get a better look at what we're doing. Okay, I'm going to run and rinse this up, and we'll take a look. All right, so there's still a significant amount of pitting and rust. I could take a little more time if I felt like it and get it better, but just as a general improvement, it's fantastic, the difference that made. And we're keeping the original hoop instead of replacing them. It's not going to affect anything sonically, so we'll go with that. All right. And so I'm going to repeat that on the other hoop, and then we'll look at the shell. All right. So we'll dry this off, and we'll have a quick look at the final result there. Well, it's like they say, it's good enough for who it's for. So, yeah, you know, you can see a lot of pitting, but from a distance, it's not going to look so bad. So we're going to go with that. And like I say, I'll swap those out. I'm going to quickly do the 12 and 13 just while I'm at it. And then we'll get on to the shell. All right, let's go rinse and see what we got. So these came around great. Let me dry one off. 13. Here. So yeah, nice. That's doable. If this is your first time to the channel, I've made some cool videos for home recording and some templates that load up, particularly for Logic and Pro Tools, where you can match the gain structure that I provide in the session, and then you can have my setup, which is demonstrated in the video, at home to work with. So if you haven't seen that yet, I'll put a link in the description. You can check that out, and let's get back to it. So interestingly enough, what's happening here is the lugs are so far away from the bearing edge that the telescoping part of the R2 air mount is too long. So I think, what do I have? Do I have a cutoff wheel? I can't remember. I might shorten these up to see. Yeah, I might as well, while I'm at it, I might as well shorten these up. So I'll get back to this. All right, so we're going to try to fix this real quick. Let's shorten this up. And first attempt is going to be with, we'll see how this goes. Secure this, maybe take an inch. Not recommended. Stupid. Okay, well, if you don't operate the tool like a jackass, it's doable, okay? We'll do the 12 as well in a minute, but... I'm going to look at the 12 real quick while I've got my sawzall out. But I imagine we're going to have the same depth issue on the 12. So let's find out. Nope, no, we're not. Not gonna have to cut this one. Great. So we'll come back to that. Let's lose the battery on this guy before we handle the blade, even though I was an idiot a minute ago. All right, we'll be back. All right, back at it. Now, I broke one of my cardinal rules. I almost never even pick up a screwdriver without putting my work gloves on. I'm just in a hurry, and I didn't. And I almost had a stupid mistake with that saw. Just for safety reasons, even if that blade had jumped, had I had a big work glove on, I still would have been way better off. So, yeah, shame on me. Let's get on it. Okay, 13 tension rods are here. It's hard to feel with this drum where the tension is because the thread casings are dirty, and so it's not going to be so easy to tune just by feel. So what I do is I listen as I'm turning the tension rod. When I can't feel what's actually happening with the physical tension, I'm just listening as I tighten and loosen to try to get a sense of how much tension is on the head. This actually feels like it's pretty cranked. So I'm going to back everything down even amount, then okay, and a lot of what I'm hearing is this head. This side's a little easier, actually. All right, yeah, we'll let that sit for now, but you know, there it is, all put back together. The 13, not bad. All right, there you have it. The 12 and the 13 are ready to go. Not bad, you know, considering where everything started, you know, and then we'll get them over to the setup and see what we got. Okay. All right, and we'll do the 16 quick. All right, and here's the 16 all cleaned up and put back together. Not bad, you know. All right, so we'll pick it up right there, over at the kit. Okay. All right, so it's a couple of weeks later, actually. Just some other things got in the way. I went ahead and set up 12, 13, 16, and I added an 18 to the kit, and we got coated ambassadors. And I'll just play through them. You can hear it a bit. And now on the bass drum, I have a coated ambassador on the front head and the batter head. It's just what I had laying around. And I have it set up dampened, you know, more like I would have in the 80s, you know. So it's a tighter sound, but it sounds good. So there you go. That's the basic shape of things. What I've discovered, I think is something I didn't really consider as much. These shells, so far as I understand, are a combination of birch and maple. And I was a Yamaha endorsee for several years, and the whole time I was there, whether it was Taylor Swift records or Darius Rucker or whatever else you might have heard, I was playing those drums. I always made a point to actually use what I'm endorsing. But what I found with birch, I had Birch Custom Absolute, I had to tune them higher than I wanted to get the drum to do something complex. If they were tuned low, they just didn't make, the heads just kind of made a sound, but there was no real complexity in the overtones or energy of the drum. And I found the same thing here. I remembered these drums from you know, my youth and playing them so much as being what I would say kind of mellow or round on the attack. And so far, they're not as detuned as I'd like to get the pitches of these drums, but what I did was I just went with what the drum would give me. And that being the case, things are pitched up a little higher than I normally would, but they actually sound really good. So here they are one more time. So that's with coated ambassadors. As they have seated in a little bit, they're actually able to drop the pitch a bit more than when I started. Now I'm going to put on some clear ambassadors, try to detune them, and we'll check that example out. So I'm going to swap 12, 13, 16, 18 out for clear ambassadors and see how we can detune. Another note is I didn't take time, if I were really going to play these drums a lot, and I'm enjoying playing them, I've recorded with them a couple times since we started this video, I would replace all the, with the, you know, like the thread inserts on the lugs just to get back a smoother tuning, because what's happening right now is I can't feel the exactly what's happening with the tension rod, so it makes it harder. I have to really listen. I can't, a lot of times I'll use the tension in my hand to know when I'm going around the drum, if it's even with the head, not just like poking at the drum, you know, with a stick and muting it, whatever. I can feel that when the drum is something I trust, the sort of the mechanics of it. So, yeah, we're going to swap these heads out and we'll take another listen. Detuned, if we can, with clear ambassadors on the tom. Now I'm playing something late 60s, early 70s, 5x14, what I guess is called a Ludaloy. So that's what you're hearing here. Okay, so we'll be back after we change these heads. So quickly, this is where the 13 is just dropping in. I don't know if you can see it in the overhead view, but sometimes with drums, you're going to have a wrinkle in here. You can see pretty pronounced, but it doesn't sound out that way. So that's as far as I'm going to take that down. Doesn't seem to want to go any further. Another thing worth noting, depending on the thread, coarse or fine thread, or your tension rods, and the way the drum was made, these can be a little bit more sensitive because these are coarse thread and are more coarse thread. And so a little goes a long way when you make a move. So it makes it a little more difficult between the edges and just some of the things I'm fighting with the hardware to tune, and it's something that will probably get better if I made a little modification to the drum. You saw what that was the first time I've hit the drum. And I don't know if you can see it overhead, but there's also a wrinkle here, but that doesn't always tell you what's going on at the collar and with the head surface at the edge. It doesn't tell the whole story. So for now, they don't want to detune so much, but we'll finish out with the 16 and 18. So we'll take a first hit at this drum, see what we got. Not bad. So there you go. Without a whole lot of effort, I leave my drums, I leave some of that growl in there. These heads just sitting on, that's going to clean up a little bit as they seat, and I'm not going to over tension them and crack them and take elasticity away from the drum head just to get past a little bit of this settling initially, because the heads are going to have more elasticity, slap, resonance if I don't crack all that glue and stretch the hell out of them right now. That's my approach. Okay, so there you go. That's what we got. A couple things in closing. I lost my dad a few years back, and this set of drums, going through this process, when I was a kid, I got these drums when I was 5 years old. Like I said earlier, I remember the day, you know, like it was yesterday. My dad took me to the music store, and they had Rogers drums. I remember there was red sparkle, blue sparkle, probably something else, and these. And you have these script era drums that are really nice looking badges, and then this, and these shells are essentially those. It's like a transition era when they're stamping them differently, but the shell is the same. You know, and you know, fast forward, I'm 14 years old. I'm wanting pearl drums, you know, all this, you know, long lugs down the drums, you know, lacquer finishes and all this stuff. And I didn't appreciate maybe, you know, just kind of what I guess is a kid's human nature, you know. What I'm finding after I'm playing these drums now is that my sweet, precious dad, he got this 5-year-old kid a great set of drums. So if you guys are out there checking these things out on the vintage, you know, used market, I gotta say, these are fantastic. I mean, I really am. I'm gonna leave them up. I have a session later today. I'm gonna leave them up for that. Really great. So also, I'm going to play a little something going out. Play along to a track that maybe these drums remind me, especially with clear ambassadors, of the way they might sit in a track.